It's the Underpowered Hour. On this week's show, we recap the best of 2023, our favorite shows, YouTube videos, and everything else. And now, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Barris, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at thebarriscollection.com or follow us on Instagram at thebarriscollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ives.
Thank you to everyone joining us today. I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Liza. Well, we're away, actually. We're in a beautiful, scenic California beach town, having a little bit of a Christmas R&R session. And what better way to enjoy our time off but listening to old episodes of the Underpowered Hour as a form of, it's like, I think that's punishment for shoplifting in some countries, but, it is what it is. We can't get enough of our own voices. So here we are again.
Well, Happy New Year, Mr. Barris.
And to you as well, Mrs. Barris. It's been a hell of a year. We got up to a lot of shenanigans this year here at the old Underpowered Hour HQ. We had the distinct pleasure of visiting a few really interesting spots. This year, we were invited to the Anarch 75th Anniversary Diamond Jubilee Festival on the East Coast, and we saw all of our favorite Land Rover community people there. All of the folks from the Center Steer podcast are our brothers in arms, if you will, as well as folks like Bob Steele and Bill Cooper and all the all-stars there. And what a fun time it was. We really enjoyed that. And we're sorry you couldn't be there.
Yeah, I had real FOMO on that one, that's for sure. I definitely regretted not being able to make it out to that one. But prior to that one, Jenna and Ike and Linus, along with Nick Dimbleby and Michael Bishop and some other good friends of the show, all went to Cooma in Australia.
Yep.
So
that's right. Yeah, speaking of FOMO, that was the one that I really wished I had an opportunity to get to. They spent some time with some real good friends, Dabo and, some other friends of ours down there, like you said, Dimbleby and Mike Bishop, Mr. Land Rover himself, were over from the UK. What a great gathering. And man, just a ton of shitty old Land Rovers. They're really incredible stuff for the 75th. But you didn't miss out on the G4 recreation that you and Abigail and Steve Cooper and some of the folks from the Land Rover Club here in Southern California went on this year. So you guys, that was pretty cool. And I think that's now published in Land Rover Monthly magazine, right?
It sure is. It came out in the December issue. Abigail's beautiful photographs are featured quite heavily in that article. And we sort of talked about how we tried to recreate the footprints taken by the G4 Challenge 20 years earlier. And let us all not forget the promise that I made to Nick Dimbleby, which is that for the 25th anniversary, I would have a working G4 Freelander for him. So, it's a good thing I'm working on the Freelander at home.
The Underpowered Hour team is hard at work on getting that Freelander to work. So, look for some.
It's probably going to take me.
Content.
It's probably going to take me the better part of the next 5 years to get that thing roadworthy, and it's still going to break down. So,
I think that's a conservative estimate.
He knows what he's signing up for.
Yeah, conservative estimate for sure. But, top minds are on it. Linus is trying to decipher an automatic transmission as we speak, how those operate and
no
why.
Problem. No problem.
Yeah, we should be fine.
While we're on the topic of fun and exciting adventures that the Underpowered crew took, you and Ike recently did Defender Trophy. How was that?
Yeah, we did. It was super exciting. We got lost in the woods for about, I would say the first half of the day. But we did eventually find a car, and it was a Land Rover. And we did some awesome defendering around in that, as well as some special tasks. Ike has a predisposition to be extraordinarily good at dart gunning, which is a skill I just didn't know he had.
Which is great. It's too bad that neither of you can navigate worth a damn. The navigator in me was so disappointed in you both.
And apparently I also can't drive around in a circle, which is an interesting development. Look for YouTube content on not just Defender Trophy, which, video very soon to come out on the YouTube channel, but also our visit to this year's Destination Defender, again in Texas. And the entire crew, for the first time in the entire year, and the last time in the entire year, the entire crew was there. Jenna, Ike, myself, you, Abigail, we were all there together making content and doing panels. And Ike did a workout challenge for some reason, and it was a ton of fun. Also, Nick Dimbleby and Mr. Land Rover himself, Michael Bishop, were there as well. So that was a fantastic
It was such
event.
a good time.
Yeah, it was a really good time. Episodes on all of that on the old podcast as well. But if you haven't headed over to the Underpowered Hour YouTube channel, you really should, because we've got all kinds of fun video stuff there as well, stuff that does not make it to the podcast. So very cool stuff.
So what do you think? Should we get into our top episodes from 2023?
I mean, if you had to pick one, it's impossible. They're all very bad.
Well, then let's let the numbers do the talking. Let's let the numbers do the talking. I will tell you that the most popular episode we have ever done on the Underpowered Hour was not actually about a Land Rover. It was, drum roll please, everything you need to know about the Ineos Grenadier with Mercedes Lilienthal of crankshaft culture.
That's right. Yeah, that makes total sense that a show almost entirely about Land Rovers would be the most popular show about the Ineos Grenadier. So there you have it. I mean, we've invited the Grenadier folks to join us at the Southern California Rover Club. Why not? I mean, it's certainly a karmic sibling to the Defender.
Absolutely. Hey, let's face it. If you have not already been convinced that the new Defender is the car for you, if you're still holding out saying that you don't think that that's a real Land Rover, and I hear that argument a lot, then the Ineos Grenadier is probably very, very appealing to you. If you like G-Wagons, the Grenadier is probably very appealing to you. This car will absolutely find a market, I think, when it becomes more widely released. I'm starting to see them popping up in Southern California. And it was really thrilling to talk to Mercedes about this way back at the beginning of 2023. We talked to her very early on in the first quarter. And we talked to her about this car that she had just been over to drive in Scotland before a whole lot of people had gotten their hands on one. So now that we're starting to see them hit the market, I think it's really great if we can play a clip of some of the things that Mercedes had to say all the way back when.
Let's dial that up right now.
As we all know, or most of us know, that Land Rover decided to go in a completely different direction. And the original Land Rover Defender, the old Black Sea workhorse utilitarian that a lot of us know, basically kind of went by the wayside in the last one was produced. So that left an opening into the marketplace for an old workhorse, just more mechanical type of a vehicle where you can make it more field fixable. You can have it on the farm, you can use it on the ranch, and you can not have to worry about unibody construction if you're, off-roading it pretty hard, or if you're needing something that is a little bit more robust and a little bit more rugged. I think for that fact, you're going to have a lot of vehicle types of people that are going to say, hey, well, I want something that is field fixable. I want something that is something that I can not have to worry about this technology bit breaking or going into limp mode or having all sorts of other issues or it having a beefy ladder chassis or it having, more suspension travel or more, opportunities. Whereas now, it's more luxury and technology, which is where the new Defender is, which is where Ineos decided to not go. So I definitely think that there's a market. I mean, I think Ineos basically told us, they said there's 4 different segments of people that they see wanting to buy at least the first iteration of the Grenadier.
Right.
So
just four. There's
just
4 people
just 4, right?
buy it.
They did their market analysis, right?
Might be a problem.
we got on one extreme here.
Yeah.
We've got the off-roaders, right? The off-road enthusiasts that love, like all of us, right? That want to accessorize, they want to upgrade, they want to, put lift kits on it, roof racks on it, they want to use it, abuse it, do whatever we can and just basically test the vehicle to its max, right?
Yeah.
Then we have the lifestylers. We've got the lifestylers that are just the outdoor enthusiasts. They want to go down, they want to go camping, they want to go to the beach, they, want to use their vehicle off pavement, but they're not the ones that really want to go up, use low range. They don't want to, go fjording rivers and do some of those different things that,
on the way to the Costco, you're not necessarily going to hit
that type of thing or whatnot. And then you basically end up having these corporate entities. Those are the other ones.
So they're envisioning like a municipal or utility type role for these cars?
Yes.
Like fleet vehicles?
You brought up the fourth one, actually, was utilitarians.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So farmers, ranchers, people that basically need it as a utility workhorse vehicle.
Right.
So not more for recreation, but more for utility. And then your corporate entities for fleet vehicles is the fourth bucket.
Which obviously Land Rover has more or less gone away. I mean, there is a utility Land Rover in the UK, Defender rather, but, not in the way that you're going to hook a boom lift up to it or you're going to, sort of do something like that.
Right.
And obviously certainly the modern G-Wagon, no one has ever done that with it. The Star Push version of the car, maybe, but certainly not since it was an army vehicle has anybody used a G-Wagon for their utility vehicle. So it's interesting that they are recognizing that as a segment that is, it's not just Ford Rangers or Ford F-150s that people use as fleet vehicles, but that there is a use for a utility SUV in that market. All right. Well, yeah, I can't wait for my first trip in a Grenadier. I'm really interested. I think they're really cool. And they've just announced that they'll be bringing the pickup truck version, the Quartermaster, here to the United States. I'm not sure about the 25%
Yeah, do you think that has the
all
potential to do really well?
I mean, I think if you look at the success of the Jeep pickup, and vehicles kind of hybrid, sort of, off-roady, pickup trucky kind of things. The Ford Raptor, obviously, things like that are very popular. I do think there's a market for it. I mean, I certainly would consider it, although I think I'm more interested in the Ineos all-electric that's coming out in a couple of years than I am necessarily with the current stable of Grenadiers, because I already have, we have two-door, four-door Defenders. We have every shape and size of Defender. So I don't really need to scratch that itch necessarily. But our good friend Bill Rattan, who's a longtime club member here in Southern California, he is the proud owner of a beautiful blue and white Grenadier.
It's gorgeous.
I'm looking forward to spending some time with Bill and going through. Maybe we'll have him on the show, have him talk about, what's the first couple of months of ownership been like with that car? Because, people are interested for sure.
Steal his keys, go for a ride,
Speaking of stealing keys and going for a ride, the boys, as we said earlier, managed to make it somehow, inexplicably managed to get their stuff together enough to get over to Australia and not just go to Cooma. It's important to know that they don't do anything the easy way. So they actually landed several days before and drove a fleet of Series 1 Land Rovers overland to the Cooma show because it's more difficult that way. And they brought Mike Bishop, they brought Nick Dimbleby and a number of other friends of ours, the boys from the CKD shop, all did an overland trip, multi-day overland trip in Series 1 Land Rovers to the Cooma show. And it was, as you can imagine, quite an adventure.
And we had 2 episodes that went through their adventures and misadventures heading to Cooma. So let's listen to a clip from the first of those 2 episodes, A Road to Cooma, getting to the world's largest Land Rover festival in Series 1. This was episode 115.
We get to the hut and inscribed on the cabin, carved into it a long time ago, Button Man. It says Jesus. Button Man on the cabin.
And a count. Like you know how you go 1, 1, 1, 1 and then a cross for 5?
Yeah, absolutely.
There was
7.
one of those for a total of 7.
7.
So there's 7 victims at that hut.
Button Man. So we get there, we see all that stuff, and we're on our way back. And everyone's back at camp, and we think that they're mostly asleep at this point.
Yeah.
And we're driving back, and we get to this log across the road. And there we were like, that wasn't there when we came through, and like, did it fall?
Oh, Jesus.
Like, what happened? And so we're like, oh man. So it's just like, it's like one single log. So we pull it off of the road. We get back in the car and we start driving. And there's another log. And this time it's like there's sort of an A-frame assembled and a log. And we're like, did somebody put that there? It didn't fall there, And there was a succession of these and the tension started building in the car and everyone.
The last one was
a little
like
on edge.
A whole spider web of sticks all interlaced and covering the road. And somebody, the button man, obviously put quite a lot of time into constructing this.
God. And so we start disassembling that and who but the button man, also Dorian, he jumps out of the woods and scares everybody in the car, and it was great. It was great, super fun. Also, Rob helped construct all that stuff.
I think that's when Mike Bishop grabbed your arm and squealed, right? I think that's what
that's Dorian's version of events. Yes. I love it. I love it.
Man, that is the long con for that. Holy moly. Really built that up over several days of
He did.
They did a great job.
I think he was planning it the entire time.
Right. Yeah. He purchased that hut and put it out there and
he would do
years
that.
in the making.
He would do that. When Dorian is committed to a practical joke, there's no bar too high.
Wow, that is pretty amazing. So then from there, you were off into the snowy mountain scheme,
yes,
if you will.
That's when we went. And we went to the town of Threadbow on the way back down.
Yes,
and
we rode the Alpine sled.
Oh,
yeah, I saw that.
That was
That's
really fun.
And the snowy hydro project, that's like a very famous Land Rover in Australia.
Thousands
sort of
Land Rovers. Thousands of Land
Biggest
Rovers. Biggest
non-military customer of Land Rovers for Series 1 cars, I believe.
All right. Well, there you go. I'm glad they didn't bring Button Man with them back here to the United States, but they're certainly haunted. I know that Linus is haunted by the damage that was done to his bag on the trip there. He's still, I think,
that's right. The spilled beer and the squashed berries will still have. It's his heart is still bruised.
It's true. It's a wound that may never heal. As wax canvas is one of Linus's favorite things in the whole world.
It's so true.
What a great time they had, and some incredible people. Just really, like I said, some Land Rover legends. Jack of Dabo Down Under fame and his amazing Trayback Land Rovers. The Seriously series folks breaking down what seemed like the entire way there and the entire way back, and of course played their film.
They might still be broken down.
I'm sure they are. That is their way. So, but speaking of incredible people, you and I had an opportunity to drop in on one of our favorite people, and probably one of the greatest people in the world, our good friend and Camel Trophy legend Duncan Barbour, on our trip across the United Kingdom. We started up in Scotland and ended up all the way down in the south of London to visit another Camel Trophy legend, Bob Ives. But we did do an episode with Duncan. We spent time at the Bat Cave and had a lovely dinner with him and his wife, and drove around and saw the sights of the beautiful Scottish coast, of which he is a long time inhabitant.
True.
Yeah.
So I didn't know Duncan Barbour all that well until this trip. I'd met him once kind of in passing, but I didn't know him very well. And by the end of one day with Duncan Barbour, I feel like we are lifelong friends and just the nicest guy in the entire world. But you guys had the most interesting conversation. It was really hard for me to pick which other clips to include in this clip show from 2023. Honestly, we had so many incredible interviews this year and incredible conversations just from our Scotland-England trip. But this conversation with Duncan Barbour, it started with a really awesome episode talking all about his experience with Camel Trophy. And I mean, the guy is a living legend. Then there's bonus content on our Patreon where he tells a story from Camel Trophy that is very not well known at all, which is really awesome. And then you guys had, we put out a part 2 about 6 weeks later, and you guys had the most amazing conversation about working together on Game of Thrones and the vampire bat that he created specifically for that type of content capture, that type of camera car. It was an amazing conversation, whether you are a budding movie maker or whether you can just appreciate how some of your favorite battle sequences have been filmed. Duncan is such an incredible wealth of knowledge, and I cannot believe we had the privilege to sit with him and get to know him as well as we did.
Without question, from Camel Trophy to Braveheart and everything in between, Duncan really has done it all. He's an amazing individual. He's a great friend. And it was so great to spend time with him. So let's thread up that last clip and give it a listen.
So over the years, I was with Camel, which was basically 89 to 94. I did the Russian event, which was, incredible to be involved in something that no one had ever done before. It was the first international motorsport event in the Soviet Union.
That's right, yeah.
That event, we hit right at the cusp of that whole perestroika and glasnost thing that was going on. Yeah. So the shops were still empty of food. There was food queues, clothes queues. It was amazing what you could buy for a packet of cigarettes out there or a pair of Levi jeans.
Right.
The organization of the event, because, it was just Ian and myself and a German logistics company who were organizing all that element. The meetings that we had out in Irkutsk, Bratsk, and Moscow were, you could write a book about all of that just in itself, the negotiations that were going on.
Right.
We managed to charter 2 Russian military Antonov 124s.
Yep.
Never been done outside of Russia. That never happened.
Right.
There'd never been international press gone in to cover an event in Russia before. There'd never been that amount of British registered vehicles landing on Russian soil.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There'd never been a Russian military aircraft land in the UK. And we actually, I think they arrived on, I think it was Armistice Day, or it was some, kind of war day. I can't remember what it was at Farnborough Airport.
Oh, geez.
And the aircraft landed on the minute when they were supposed to. I remember standing there watching for them to arrive, and these 2 big lumbering aircraft suddenly appeared. They brought, it was all senior pilots of the Russian military who were piloting it. They brought their own brass band with them. It was just incredible, really.
Wow. Wow.
And I remember during the negotiations, they wanted millions of dollars for the charter of these aircraft, and I think we eventually knocked them down to 200,000 or something. Chartered 2 aircraft for 2 separate trips there and back.
Several packages of cigarettes and pairs of Levi's.
A container full. A container full of that sort of stuff.
Right, of course, yes.
Which, in fact, we took 2 containers out, and they both sat on they were lifted up, taken in, dropped onto the rear ramp.
Right.
Rear ramp came up, along with 25, 20, in fact, maybe nearly 30 vehicles in the 2 aircraft. So
that's amazing.
That in itself was incredible.
Yeah, incredible.
Well, if you liked any of the clips that you heard today and haven't listened to those shows, please head on back there and listen to them. The full catalog is available on all of your favorite podcast applications. It's also available on our website. You can head on over to underpoweredhour.com, where you can find content. You can find a link to our store, so you can buy yourself some Tiny Ikes or some rally car stickers. There's new Eclipse rally car stickers about to hit the website, so make sure you check in and look for that material, Dream Machine rally car stuff, and then just your general Underpowered Hour ephemera. And we're always working on new stuff, so visit frequently, as you may find that perfect gift for someone you'd like to alienate permanently.
So, Stephen, we've had such an awesome 2023. What are you looking forward to in 2024?
Oh boy, have we got some exciting stuff coming up in 2024. Just in the first few weeks of 2024, we are going to have none other than Overland Training Canada's very own Chris Walker. Chris is, not just an international man of mystery, but he is deeply integrated and an integral part of the Rebel Rally, of Overland Expo, and of course of his own mysterious worldwide training business when it comes to off-roading. So he really is an incredible guy. He's done some incredible things and is involved in some of the biggest events in this country and other countries, both Canada and the United States, and just a good friend. And finally, we made it happen because we asked Jenna to schedule it. And then, of course, it happened inside of about a week. But it was great chatting with him. Looking very forward to having that out. Our good friend Jean-Luc Masters, the GWAC man from Instagram, going to come on and talk about the first 5 prototype discoveries created for the Camel Trophy. When they introduced Discovery into Camel Trophy, he has one and is a wealth of knowledge about those type of cars, those first 5. Then we're going to have the yearly look back at the Land Rover marketplace with our good friends Ivan and Dan from Rover Talk. We're going to pick again our favorite Land Rover sold in 23. I'm not sure. I have to really think about what my favorite.
You better do
one
your
is
research
be.
about that one.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It is true. And of course, it wouldn't be the Underpowered Hour without a winter breakdown, which Ike and Linus are in the middle of right now as they took a very unproven Dormobile out for a long distance journey through Death Valley. So they may be dead. We don't know. We're not 100% sure.
I love when those guys travel. I love their shenanigans. It makes awesome content. I always laugh at the way that they can lead relatively unprepared and come back relatively unscathed, but with copious amounts of great stories to tell. So they are out in Death Valley as we speak, as you and I are sitting in a cushy little beachside resort. They are out probably freezing, probably hungry, and probably broken down somewhere in Death Valley. And it's going to make great content to talk about.
They may have been eaten by burros by now. We don't know. Anything is possible out there. Yeah. Speaking of great stuff to watch.
Being eaten by burros?
Yeah, that's right.
Being eaten by burros. Okay.
Yeah, we have some fantastic stuff coming up on YouTube. So if you'd like to see Linus being eaten by a burro, we've got not just the Defender Trophy 23 video. We have that coming up right away. We also have some content from Destination Defender, both panels as well as just some general stuff. Our friends from Full Sail got stranded in the wilderness because of a confusion over who had the key to the Defender, which is very fun. And of course, the long-awaited, highly anticipated Liza Freelander restoration video series.
Oh, don't build that up so much.
It's just going to be,
yeah.
I mean, it is really spectacular. It is the, the sound of music of Freelander restoration videos for sure.
I mean, it's for a very small targeted audience, right? Like John Kostick over at the Center Steer. He'll love
That's
it.
right.
But everybody else is going to be like, why are you putting this amount of energy into that car?
I think Dixon will enjoy it ironically. And then, of course, we finally have some content around the forward control. So we picked that up a little bit earlier this year, and we're going to start that video series as we start into work on getting that vehicle back to its expedition trim. It was used as an expedition vehicle from London to Cape Town, South Africa, and we'll be putting it back into its expedition livery. And then who knows, maybe a mobile podcast lounge, maybe a birria taco stand. I don't know, but it's going to be something great. We're really looking forward to getting started on that one. So, if YouTube and podcasts aren't enough for you, well, you're in luck. You can be like our very good friend Bob Steele, and you can support us on Patreon. We have special content there, like Liza said, special stuff from Duncan Barbour. We will have all kinds of special behind the scenes stuff from both Freelander restoration, the forward control restoration, as well as some clips from up at the Pangolin 4x4 shop and what the boys are working on up there, what apples the horse isn't being fed because they're being kept by the guys, all that sort of stuff there on our Patreon, as well as some Ask Me Anythings with Ike and I, like it or not. Maybe the ask could just be like, can you guys stop doing this? And the answer will be, maybe. Depends on,
no.
I mean, what's in it?
No.
What are we talking dollars here? Like what's available?
We need to have a special patron level that is like, somewhere in the pay us $1,000. $500, $100. No.
Yeah.
What's your price to stop making this show?
I don't know. It's a good question. Some days, not very much. So,
we're going to just keep making this show. And really, frankly, it gives us an excuse to drive fun Land Rovers and go meet great, cool people in the community. And we're having too much fun to stop. So
That's true. Well, at that, it has been a great 2023. I am looking very forward to 24. We're going to be in person at a few places, probably the first one being Overland Expo. So look out for that. Thank you, Liza, for all of your help this year. And we look very forward to a new year. And thank you, everyone listening, dear listeners, for tuning into this show. We're coming up on 100,000 streams of the Underpowered Hour, which is just an insane thing to think about. So thank you all for that. And we look forward to bringing you more of whatever this is in the new year. So until then, hopefully everyone has had a safe and exciting holiday season. Hopefully you got into your garage and worked on your Land Rover, or spent time in the wilderness, digging it out of the sand, or running it through the mud, as that is where it, and I imagine most of you, are the most happy. So until next year, we are signing off, and we'll see you on the trail.
Happy New Year.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Barris, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Barris. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.